Good evening to one and all, and welcome to this edition of Just the Facts. I am your host, Cora Richardson Hodge, and this evening we have a wonderful set of persons here with us this evening. We have Canon Dr. Oluwakemi Linda Banks, OBE, and we have Mr. Alexis Ryan. And both Dr. Banks and Mr. Ryan are and will be the recipients of the Anguilla Badge of Honor and Queen Certificate. Dr. Banks was the 2019 recipient of that badge and certificate, and Mr. Alexis Ryan is one of our 2026 recipients. And so we are happy to have the both of you here with us this evening as we are on the eve of the 59th celebration of the Anguilla Revolution. And we want to talk about how far we've come and where we go from here. So good evening to both of you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. So we've had some eventful celebrations leading up to Anguilla Day 59 so far. Events such as Culture on the Road and the Anguilla Day Sports Festival on the Park, which was held last week. And coming up, we'll have the annual Anguilla Day quiz, where students from all of our primary schools will be participating at the Morris Vanderpool Primary School this Thursday morning. We also have the ongoing door decorating competition, which follows this year's theme, Empowered by Yesterday's Legacy, Inspired by Tomorrow's Promise. And so both Dr. Banks and Mr. Ryan have contributed significantly to the social development and the arts at different times in Anguilla's history. So Dr. Banks, I'll start with you. In 2017, you wrote an article in the Anguillan entitled, How It All Started, Revolution Queen Show. It was enlightening and entertaining. And you ended the article with these words, quote, "The Anguilla Revolution started with a show, a queen show," end quote. I was so intrigued. I was looking forward to the next article. So you have to explain to us, how did the Anguilla Revolution start with a queen show?
I wrote a poem in my book, which I have here with me too,
Wonderful.
And, I think it's this cannot be debated. It's the only revolution that ever started with a queen show.
Okay.
I put that on
Tell
record.
us how.
Because, in Anguilla, temples were rising, but the Queen Show was part of a bigger picture because there was the St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla kind of moving towards greater autonomy and becoming a state. It was easier for Britain to manage one entity than three entities. And so as part of that, there was this Queen Show, which was destined to choose someone to represent the state, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla. So contestants were chosen from the different islands. Now, you don't know me back then, but I was quite tall and gawky. My brothers called me string bean and all of that. So I never saw myself as a Queen Show contestant. But I allowed myself to be persuaded, and I had fun preparing for the show.
How old were you?
I was 18.
18. Okay, yeah, good age.
And, it was fun because we were coached in terms of how we walk, how we balance and everything. We had a lot of fun together. There were 6 of us, Blondell Martin, Ann Edwards, Maisel, who else? Ann Edwards. I see that say Ann before. Anyhow, there were 6 of us, and we had fun. We would, right now where the Lancer Bowl Cultural Center was the home of the magistrate, the warden. And it was a beautiful edifice there, a beautiful stately house. And we would parade on the veranda, balancing books on our head in order to get poise. As girls, young girls, we had no fear there were rumblings on the island about something that was going to happen, about people not wanting to be part of the state of St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, but we were having fun and we didn't think about it. So the night of the show came. We were assembling the old high school. There were two sections of the high school, the senior section and the academic section. We were in the section that was called the academic section, all dressed in our bathing suits to go on stage. When we heard noises, the lights went out, stones were thrown on the, well, we didn't know there were stones at that time. We just know that there was noise of stuff going on the roof. And our chaperones, my chaperone was my mother. She had left us in the room with the other chaperones to go to the main part of the building to have the show. So there we are, these 6 girls, and all these noises are happening, the lights go out, and then what was even more frightening, our eyes start to burn. Oh. Apparently, the St. Kitts policemen who were on the island had been told that the show was going to be happening and that they were determined to disrupt it, because this show was a statement from Anguillans. What should I say? The people in Anguilla did not want to have an Anguilla queen representing St. Kitts or as part of anything with St. Kitts. Ah. And so they came to disrupt the show. And these were people from the East mainly, you know, or people from the East. They say wise men come from the East, right?
Yes, indeed.
But our people from the East were quite determined not to have an Anguilla girl be a queen. And so they came to disrupt the show. And so the policemen from St. Kitts had been briefed, so they came prepared with their tear gas to disrupt the show. And there we are, 6 girls in this room here, trying to run on the tables, run on the chairs, run in cupboards, because now our eyes start to smart, because tear gas makes you cry, and no matter what you do, your eyes will make you will cry. And we had never had any knowledge of tear gas. We had no knowledge of the show being disrupted. So we were just there in our swimsuits, ready to go on stage when all of this happened.
You had no idea what was happening.
No idea.
Yeah.
So I said, as girls, we said, okay, let's get out of here. As we're getting out of there, we realized that there was even more disruption on the other part of the building, because it was the senior section and the academic section, and the audience was in the senior section. And there were pandemonium over there, because people realized that, you know, they were getting tear gas too. There was this guy from St. Kitts on the stage. His name was Gumsy, and he was strumming. My grandfather's clock was too big for the shelf, so it stood 90 years on the floor. And as he was strumming, he reached the part where it stopped short, never to go again, and that's when the lights went out. He said, the show must go on, the show must go on. And he continued to strum, but then he had to stop too. So people in the audience realized what was happening. Lights out. You can imagine the confusion. People in this building with windows on the eastern side, and somebody had the presence of mind to open one window. Everybody lined up behind that person to jump through that window. Women who were wearing hobble skirts. That was the style of the day. Wearing their hobble skirts, so they just tore them and jumped. And you know, crowd dynamics are crazy. One person opened a window, everybody went behind that one window when there was a whole bank of windows along the wall. But everybody lined up behind one, because I guess for those who had gone out before, they realized that was a safe route.
Yes, yes.
So everybody lined up behind there. And I tell you, it's a night to remember. We were lucky that there was no bloodshed. I had on my swimsuit. I went back in the room. My mother had left to go with the audience, so I said, I'm coming by you. She said, no, go back, go back, go back. So I went and grabbed my bags, and because I was living near to the school, I ran out and ran home to school, to my home. And there, my house was full of people, because everybody ran to the house next door where it was safe.
Right. So this was the first night where there was an outward display of Anguillians saying we no longer want to be St. Kitts Nevis, Anguilla.
we're not going that route.
We're not going there. Yes. Okay. All right. And do you think the 1967 Queen Show impacted you as a young person and impacted where you are today?
It did. For one, I was a teacher at that time, you know, and for one thing, it showed me that when people are determined to make something happen, they can make it happen. As a teacher in the school system, we were demonstrated against because the view was that we were aligned with St. Kitts because, of course, our salaries were paid by St. Kitts government, and so we were seen as the enemy, you know. And so the children in school would demonstrate against us. During the break periods, they would be demonstrating in the playground, you know, with placards and everything. And I can well remember that May 30th day when word came around, send the children home, there's going to be trouble. That was the day when they sent out the St. Kitts policemen. So we had to send the children home and we had to run home ourselves because we weren't sure what was going to happen. It was a time of great uncertainty, but as a young person, it was also a time of excitement. You know, we never knew what would happen from one day to another, but we knew that things were happening in quiet Anguilla, where you never had any problems, no noise, no fuss. Now, we have a Queen Show which disrupted, we have tear gas, we have people from the east, we have Ronald Webster, we have people agitating and saying, we do not want to be part of St. Kitts. And we young girls were in the center of it. And we were scared because, as I said, we were seen as the enemy because at that time I was on the wrong side of the revolution.
Yes.
You know?
Right. So you described in your article that in 1967, Anguilla was a place with very few opportunities, entertainment opportunities for young people. And so what made that Queen Show a special event for you?
As I said, I was young, gawky, didn't see myself as a Queen Show contestant, but here I was thrust into it and was having fun.
Yeah, the camaraderie with
the girls were great. You would learn etiquette. We had tea parties. You know, it was like all training in etiquette for us.
Yes.
And as a group of young girls, it felt good to be special, you know, in that way.
Yes.
We weren't thinking of the danger, but it felt good to be in the highlight like that.
Yeah, wonderful. Mr. Ryan.
Hi.
First of all, congratulations on you being recognized as an awardee for this year Anguilla Day celebrations.
Thank you.
Right. So, for those of you who may not be aware, Mr. Ryan is a distinguished cultural ambassador. He's a fashion designer, performing artist, spoken word artist, judge, chaperone, and mentor. But I feel that doesn't cover everything. You're also involved in sports and youth, is that correct?
Something like that.
Something like that?
Yes, I coach the Valley Primary as well as the Rainbow Rockets, and they're currently the national champions.
I didn't hear that. They what?
They're currently the national champions and the Culturama Games
So
champions.
you seem to have excelled in all that you do. So
Well,
I am curious as to how you became a fashion designer.
How I became a fashion designer? Well, I guess I was always gifted in terms of drawing. And I came from a fashion background. My grandfather was a tailor. He was the father of the late Lee Llewellyn Moore.
Yes.
He was once the premier of St. Kitts. So he was an educated man, but he chose the route of less resistance where he went into the arts. And my mom was a teacher as well, but she also loved the sewing aspect. I love sketching. I like bringing things to fruition with my hands or with my voice. So we became a tag team. But I think I drew my first fashion design sketch at 13 when I was in trials with the pageants. I do a lot of work with pageants. And my clothing and textiles teacher Leonie from San Miguel, I draw a whole collection of designs, and it wasn't until I think it was in my 20s that they found the designs, and my mom actually made one into fruition.
Wow.
So that is what catapulted this whole thing.
And how old were you at the time you made those designs?
I was about 13.
Wow. Okay. All right. Very good. And so, can you tell us, was there someone you looked up to or admired who assisted you in being the person who you are today?
There are many persons who I looked up to. I would say my mom, because it's one thing to draw something and another thing to bring it to life. In terms of mentorship, I would have to say I deal with sports, Coach Colin Johnson. He's the reason why I became a coach, because I would see the reaction he had with the kids, and I just adapted the protocol already established. And even today, he's someone that still guides me. Someone else who I look up to, Raz Bucket, Mr. Rollins, in fashion. My clothing textile teacher, also my food nutrition teacher, because at one point I was a chef.
Oh, you were?
Yes. I like hair, but I wear many hats.
All right. So tell us about how you wove in your cultural identity into being a designer, performing artist, etc.
Believe it or not, in school I was actually an English C student, meaning English wasn't necessarily my favorite subject. However, I use poetry as a mean of edutaining, educating and enlightening persons. So I write best when I'm annoyed. I like to write on subjects where it brings about like social justice, a point where I can highlight something. Also, I write to release whatever is going on. There's a saying that says, what? Eggshells hurt feet, but save lives. So sometimes it's better to write it down than to act it out.
Okay, interesting. And I know that both of you have this passion in relation to cultural identity and recognizing and appreciating your heritage. And Dr. Banks, you two, you've written at least one book. Two books. And you are also a poet as well. And so both of you, I won't say that I don't know whether or not you can say you're experts or you dabble or whatever it is, but it's in relation to the written word. And I think sometimes both of you are involved in the spoken word as well, right?
Especially Alexis.
Right. So it's that passion, I think, that comes out in terms of performing arts, in terms of everything. You're a clinical psychologist, Dr. Banks. So that's interesting. So on one hand, you're in this formal role, and then in the other, here's the cultural identity, the artistic expression, etc. And somehow you're able to marry the two. So tell us about how you transition that from what you love to do for yourself and into empowering and uplifting the people of Angola. I'll start with you, Dr. Banks.
I think it all comes together in terms of your mission. My goal in life is to help people feel better about who they are. And so there comes the clinical psychology aspect of it. I was a teacher. I still consider myself a teacher. I love when my children call me Teacher Linda, And in terms of people, my goal is to help them see that they are special, that there is that characteristic within them which is within nobody else, that they are unique. A lot of times people tend to minimize who they are, and they don't appreciate how wonderful they are. So my goal in terms of being a teacher and in terms of psychology, in terms of even the media, is, in the Caribbean or Black people in general, we have not been accustomed of seeing ourselves, well, now we are, but we were not accustomed of seeing ourselves on the media, on the big screen. We saw other people and we tried to be like them. So, you know, I had the advertising agency, the production company, and the goal there again was to have people see themselves as special. So, my mission statement is really, I am the possibility of universal transformation through spiritual leadership in a world manifesting the beauty and the glory of the Creator.
Wow.
So that brings together all the different facets of my personality.
Yeah.
Because I've been with the radio, I've been with TV, as you said, I'm in culture. All of that is bringing people to a point where they see how beautiful they are and transforming them so that they can then transform others. It's like casting a pebble in the water. The ripples are unending, you know. So if we see each other as special, one of my poems I say I wrote has to do with the way we treat young people. We kind of don't look at them. We just kind of push them aside in a lot of ways and feel that they are not what we want them to be. And I hear young people saying to me, look at me, just look into my eyes, you know, the latticed windows of my soul. Don't just look at me and make an interpretation. Look beyond what you see. There's someone there who's crying out. There's someone there who wants to be seen, you know. So my whole philosophy has to do with seeing people as special and helping them see themselves as special. Like I was at Campus Q on Friday, yeah? And as I walked into the room, I smiled because I like to smile. And as I smiled at young people, I saw them not responding. I said, I'm smiling at you. This smile is for you because you are special. And I want you to smile back because you are special. And if you can get people looking at others and saying they are made in the image of God, they are special, he is special, I'm special, we can all be more beautiful. We can be transformed. The world can be transformed. We can be our brother's keeper. Right, Alexis?
Yes.
We can be our sister's keeper. Because we are on this journey, and my book I use journey with joy in E. Capital J and O, and there's a Y at the
Joy,
end. So the
right.
joy in the journey.
Right.
So I would like people to enjoy the journey. This first book has to do with healing. The second book I wrote has to do with women, specifically, who have been traumatized in different ways and who've come out, you know, on top. And that's why I use the starfish. People say, why the starfish? The starfish is this lowly creature on the bottom of the sea, going about his or her business. They say there's no gender. But they go about their business, not troubling anybody. But if a predator troubles them, breaks one of their tentacles, they move on. They leave that tentacle behind. And they grow another tentacle. So life is about not just being stuck in pain, but using that pain, like Alexis says, he writes best when he's angry, when he's feeling pain, using whatever struggles we have to become better people, like the starfish.
Wow, well said, well said. And to you, Alexis, how do you transition or how do you transfer all that you are in terms of, you know, your cultural experiences, you know, everything that you love about, you know, everything that you do, fashion designing, etc., to assist and help our young people?
Well, I believe that each of us has a responsibility to leave a legacy. I'm a mentor, I'm a coach, so I teach a lot using my poetry because the way I do poetry, it relates to people. And in terms of the fashion design, I have mentored a lot of the local fashion designers that are here in Anguilla right now, active. like Mr. Star Quality and Danielia. They would have, you know, Danielia would have been a past athlete who led to be a designer. And Yuri went on to do great things. I'm so proud of him today. And as a unit, we in Anguilla who deal with the fashion, we are a collective. Also, I work with Janae Raymond because no man is an island. We are all connected. Also Florence. You know, if I need help, I call Florence and I said, Florence, how do you do this? And that's just what we're supposed to do. In terms of the poetry, I believe by saying the poems authentically, they don't have to be perfect English, but saying it in a manner in which that it relates to people, you know, it helps get the message across a little better. As it says, out of the abundance of the heart, our thoughts speak. And you may think something is dumb, but it might relate to somebody. And just how I say poems, I don't understand the reaction I get. Sometimes the room goes like completely still. And I think no one is listening, and then at the end you get this standing ovation. Sometimes I don't even remember what I said. But they felt what I said, and that is important. So I think I like being a mentor, because I believe people need someone to look up to. And even when I'm in a coaching capacity, when I'm at the sports days, I kind of dress up so they still know that I'm into fashion. There's a little saying, I'm supposed to say, I changed my outfit 5 times. But this year I was unable to do so because the last outfit reminded me of an outfit I wore with my friend who has since passed. So I wasn't able to wear it. But people look forward to that, and it adds a little excitement to the sport. And just from me doing that, there are some young people who have decided they too would like to go into the fashion industry. Little children drawing designs, and like, how did you come up with that? And they said, well, coach, I see you doing it.
Excellent. So what motivates you in order to preserve and promote Anguilla's rich cultural heritage?
What motivates me?
What motivates you to preserve and try to do what you can to maintain Anguilla's rich cultural heritage?
I think Anguilla is different. Anguilla is special. You know, when you think about 6,000 Babajanis in an arid land, you know, seen as behind God's back, you know, and then you see Anguilla today, you know, and that potential was there. We didn't manifest it. It was always there. There is something about the Anguillan mentality of making things work. My mother would talk about cutting and contriving, you know.
Anguillan mash.
Anguillan math?
That's what we call it, Anguillan mash.
Sucking salt, you know, and there's a reason why the salt pond is there, why that was our sustenance way back, you know. So I had opportunities to leave Anguilla, but Anguilla is in, well, the last poetry competition was salt in your bones or something like that.
Salt in the blood.
Salt in the blood, you know. So something about Anguilla made me feel as if this is my home and this is where I want to be. So everything I did brought me back to Anguilla. I had opportunities. I went to St. Martin, I was invited to St. Martin to do TV, but the goal was not to stay in St. Martin. I was asked to help with the school. The goal was not to stay there. The goal was to get prepared to come back to Anguilla to do psychology. There's something about Anguilla which pulls me back, which makes me want to be the best that I can be so that others can be the best that they can be. I don't know, I mean, it's like something which is not tangible, But there is something about Anguilla which just motivates me to stay here and make it work. Not just for me, but for all around me.
Wonderful.
So
And
that's all the best I can say. I
Thank
can't
you.
put a finger on it, but
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Just keeps you here, keeps drawing you back to Anguilla. And you, Alexis, what motivates you to preserve and protect Anguilla's rich cultural history?
As Dr. Linda says, there's something about Anguilla. This is home. This is, I guess, where I belong until God says differently, because you never know what happens in the future. But even when I travel, the first thing I do when I go to another man's country is look at their beaches.
Really?
And if they can't match Crocus Bay, I don't go in the water.
I don't.
Crocus Bay is like the measuring stick. And then the people. I work at the port and I would hear tourists talking about how they love Anguilla. And sometimes I wish I could see Anguilla through their eyes, but sometimes you just have to go away for a bit and come back, and then you understand. There's just a feeling here, a uniqueness. Warm, friendly people. The weirdest thing is the biggest gangster in Anguilla can be the best tourist agent. What I mean by that is they may sound tough, but the moment they get in contact with the tourists, they switch. They advertise Anguilla because there's a certain level of pride there.
Wonderful.
I mean, they were just speaking rough to their compatriots, and then when someone asks, oh, we have this, or you have to try this, or you have to go in the valley, or you have to go to Shoal Bay or West End. That's a level of pride. I mean, you
Every person is a representative of your country,
Yes.
isn't it? Yes, very good. Yeah.
When I was a teacher, quite young, maybe 16 years old, I wrote a poem about Anguilla. And, you know, up to today, James Harrigan reminds me of that poem that I taught them. He knows it word for word. Anguilla is my native land. And he remembers that I taught them that, you know, at that age.
Wow.
And so from very early, Anguilla was part of who I am and will always be part of who I am.
Yes, yeah. So we are getting close to time, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, but since both of you are poets, it would be remiss of me to let you go tonight without asking whether or not you have a poem that you would want to, or something to say to the people of Angola that not only representative of you, but also, you know, where we are in Angola.
Okay. I think I know one out of my head.
Okay. And this is something that you wrote?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Something I wrote.
Okay.
Let me give you the backstory about this poem. There was a competition at the Dune, and I remember I did not finish writing the poem. I didn't know anything about boat racing, to be quite honest. So I was asking my colleague, who was an immigration officer, said, tell me a little about boat racing. I said, all I know is they have a word hardly, and I'm interested in what hardly means. It was fun to me. And I reached to the poetry competition late, because I finished work 7 and the poetry competition finished 8. So I asked the organizers, could I please go last because I finished writing the poem? They said, but everybody already told me you're number 1. I said, wait. So I have to go up there and wing it. Okay, so this poem.
You're good at that.
I don't know how I do it. This poem is called Strange Things About Anguillians No One Ever Talks About. Strange things about Anguillians no one ever talks about. 1, they possess a level of pride in their country that is bigger than their country. 2, they're not fans of people messing with their land, especially if that land was earned and not inherited. 3, they're some of the friendliest people you will ever meet, but the omission of a hail can make you an enemy. So always say good morning when it is morning, afternoon when it is noontime, and good evening when the dew gets ready to set upon the flowers. Speaking of flowers, the white cedar, their national flower, it is actually pink in color. And their national dish is peas and rice, and not rice and peas, with a fish and plantain. But that is optional. But on Sundays, it is necessary. Their national sport is boat racing, and it is such a spectacle to see the crosses, the tacks, and the hard leaves, and how the fans will literally go to the ends of the earth to support through rugged roads, high cliffs, and even through personal properties. You see, the passion they exude for this sport is not found anywhere else, just like boat racing is not found anywhere else in other countries. It is called sailing. You see, boat racing, it is truly the national sport, but every day on Anguilla is sports day. Not a reality, it's just something we like to say, which simply means that every day in Anguilla, they are ordinary people doing the extraordinary. But there's nothing really ordinary about the typical Anguillian. Not long ago, the beauty of their island's queen transcended this island's topography, and the universe took notice. In 2023, the athletes here kept on soaring until they were visible upon the world's athletic list. Their chefs are masters in culinary, and they create some of the world's best delicacies, while their bartenders create potions and concoctions, and their musicians can create compositions that can cure depression, raise consciousness, and make you dance all in one song. Their twang is unique, indicative of their history, and some of the words that they use will never be found in a dictionary. Words and phrases like babody, Ireland, and Ominius. Well, you get the gist. And as the history is rich, they have some of the best and most prolific poets and storytellers dedicated in telling Anguilla's story, ensuring that her glory lives on, as they possess a level of pride in their country that is bigger than their country. So in describing her geological location, don't dare call her a dot on the map. Call her the diamond in the archipelago. Call her the jewel in the Lesser Antilles. And when you're talking about a people, call them warm and hospitable. Call them friendly and welcoming. But most of all, call them proud, because that is who they are, as they possess a level of pride in their country that is bigger than their country. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Bravo, bravo.
Beautiful.
Ooh, that was wonderful. Yes.
And the way he delivers it and he remembers it, you know.
Yes, that was
That's
absolutely
a real
amazing.
skill.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
That's
very
what
good.
that's the poem I did for Country Night at last year's Cara Festa to represent Anguilla.
Very good, very good. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Banks, I know I put you on the
Well,
spot.
I don't have that skill that he has of, you know, the spoken word. So I will read a poem from my book. My book is written in 5 different segments, and using my psychology hat, it's all about healing. Section 1 is healing from violence. Section 2, reaching out and embracing life. Section 3, the power of love. Section 4, reconnecting with the divine in me. And part 5, healing and freedom. I'm going to read something from From section 1, called Heritage, the section which talks about healing from violence. They will try to denigrate and underestimate the very essence of what makes you great. Don't let them. They will subliminally squeeze and ease you into those stereotyped personalities that suit them. They will proselytize and criticize to immobilize the genius in your eyes. Ignore them. They will wheel and deal and steal your dreams with their greenback schemes. Expose them. They will seductively brainwash with globalized technology, marginalizing family, traditions, and our society. It's high time that we push back against them. Don't be so oblivious to what's becoming quite obvious. We are sliding slowly without fuss to the back of the bus. Our nation needs us to remind them of plantation days, tourism phase can easily take its place. So watch your P's and Q's, sign MOAs and MOUs, but carefully negotiate them. So as we share the space our forebears fought to make our base, without excuses or abuses, but with dignity and grace, safely guard our heritage, always to honor them.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so happy I put you guys on the spot. Wonderful. And so we've actually come to the end of our program. I want to thank both of you for coming here this evening, for coming in your Anguilla Day colors as we close in on the 59th anniversary of our celebration of Anguilla Day. And I want to thank those of you who have joined us this evening. Wish you the very best. Come out, celebrate Anguilla Day. On Thursday, come out and celebrate our children and support at the Morris Vanderpool Primary School. The church service 4 p.m. at the St. Augustine's Anglican Church, which is the Anguilla Day church service, and come on out as well. And so we want to thank you for joining us this evening. Have a blessed night.